Hi, I'm Peter Sesselmann. I'm going to try and answer the question about how a piezo pickup works and what's the difference between the different makes and models and what makes my pickup unique, I suppose, in a sense. Pretty much all pickups of this type use the same element. The element looks like this. It's a brass plate with a silvery surface on the inside. And that's usually the internal workings of pretty much all the pickups out there. There's a few different variations in this, few different qualities, but I'll work on the assumption that all pickup manufacturers uses the best. So that said, this is how this element works. Imagine, I've got some little demo things here. Imagine this being the brass plate at the bottom. It then has the piezo material on top of there, which is made from a quartz crystal, and then it has a silvery conductive surface on the other side of there. So it's a bit like a sandwich, if you can see that like that. Now, the piezo element gives off electric voltage when it's been applied to three different stresses. There's three basic stresses that can work on the piezo element. Now, most pickups out there only use one of them. So, whereas the pickup I design use all three, so this is vitally important. The first stress that all pickups use, including mine, is the vibrational stress. When this whole pickup is attached to the soundboard of a guitar and it vibrates, there's a voltage that comes out by the whole thing vibrating. The second stress is when the piezo material is squeezed like that, and in order to achieve that you have to have a counterweight. Imagine this as a little counterweight on top there. So as the whole unit shakes with the guitar, this counterweight applies a squeezing pressure to the piezo material. Now the third stress, which is the most important one, is the bending stress. Now these elements are actually called piezo benders. It's in the name, so how most people miss it I cannot understand. So by bending the crystal, you're getting the highest amount of voltage and sound coming out of it. So imagine, so you need a casing over the top. So imagine this is a little bit of a cardboard cutout as the top casing, which only attaches to the outside edge. So now as it vibrates, it bends, shakes and squeezes. So you've got the three different energies. And how much you get from each depends on how heavy the weight, how heavy the casing, and how it's mounted to the guitar. There is a pickup manufacturer out there who recommends to their clients that they take the element, and they use the element like this. They don't have any counterweight, and they mold a complete plastic casing on top, which touches the whole thing, which doesn't allow for any bending. And to make things even worse, they say that you should glue this, imagine this being the guitar surface, they're saying you should glue it down onto the surface with super glue or crazy glue to get the most contact with the surface possible. Now, this is crazy. This is not true. This is absolute rubbish. And you have to get that out of your head, because this is really only allowing it to vibrate with the top of the guitar. You're ignoring the two main stresses on the crystal completely. So they don't even have a counterweight. Now you could get away with that if maybe you had a counterweight on top, that as the guitar vibrates you get a little bit more pressure on the crystal, so at least you're using two of the principles. But to just simply use the one, that's probably why they have to have a whole heap of them on the guitar to get a reasonable sound, because this is just silly. Now if you mount the piezo pickup with, this is just a plastic disc here, but just in the center of the element. So there's actually a gap on the edges, and then you have the counterweight, and then you have the casing over the top of there. Now as the guitar vibrates, now you're getting the bending, you're getting the pressure, the squeezing from the counterweight, and you're getting the vibration coming through. So this is very, very important. The thing is, the bending is largely responsible for the bass frequencies, and which is why when I designed the bass pickup I actually made a casing on top here from a metal, a die-cast metal, a heavy metal, so that there's even more bending stress on the crystal as it vibrates, and that's perfectly suited for acoustic bass guitars. like my own for instance, which is a fretless flat wound stringed acoustic bass. Not a high slappy type of bass, it's got really low mellow tones, and this picks that up perfectly. A guitar, I use a very select timber as the casing. Why timber? Well, there's a reason why they make guitars from timber and not from plastic. It just sounds better. So I have that on top there, plus the counterweight in the center. So by using all three stresses to create a sound out of the crystal, you get the most balanced sound, and certainly the loudest sound, which is why a preamp for these piezo pickups is really not necessary unless you have an impedance problem, unless your amplifier is an older amp that has a very low impedance. Then you could have some issues. But apart from that, there's certainly enough volume coming out of the crystal to power any modern amp on the market. So the material that you actually affix the pickup to the guitar with, I'm not saying it's unimportant, but it's as long as it only sits in the center of the pickup and it is reasonably hard, it will transfer the vibration through from the top of the guitar into the pickup. Now, if you're using the blue tack, for instance, the trick is not to use too much of it, because it is a little bit soft, the blue tack. But I found that actually sounds perfectly okay in most situations. If you want a better sound, I suppose you could glue the pickup permanently inside your guitar, and then you would choose the glue which is harder, like an epoxy putty or heat glue or something like that, but making sure that when you squeeze the pickup into place, that the glue doesn't squirt all the way out to the edge and stop the bending action. So that's the main thing you have to be careful of, is that, and I say it again, only the center needs to be in contact with the guitar body. So that's my 5 cents worth on pickup design and pickup installation. Do with it what you will, but I found that these are the principles that make my pickup work. Thanks for your time.